everyone, I'm Alma Angeles and this is NET25 World News. Here are tonight's top stories. Airlines grounded, tech issues investigated. Multiple U.S. airlines are now recovering from a major computer glitch that caused widespread flight disruptions worldwide. Experts are now probing the root of the problem, which also affected other businesses. U.S. vows support to Philippines amid South China Sea standoff. The White House has reaffirmed its commitment to the Philippines after a Filipino ship ran aground on a disputed atoll. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan emphasized the U.S.-Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty. U.S. journalist sentenced to 16 years in Russian prison. Evan Gershkovich, a Wall Street Journal reporter, was convicted of espionage by a Russian court in a case condemned by the U.S. and its allies. Pandemonium coming to San Diego Zoo. The San Diego Zoo is giving the public a sneak peek at its new panda pair, Yun Chuan and Shin Bao, ahead of their official debut next month. Multiple U.S. airlines said they were beginning to resume operations following a major worldwide computer systems outage that grounded or delayed thousands of flights across the country.
And how long have you been waiting in line?
About an hour and a half.
Or so?
Hour and a half, hour.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
To your understanding, what did they say the problem was?
They said all the computer systems were down.
They didn't tell us.
No, when I went up there, they didn't say anything to people online. When I had to physically go up there and say, what if I missed my flight? And they said, don't worry, all the flights are delayed. That's all they told me.
Are you feeling optimistic you're going to get out of here today?
No, I think I'm going to be screwed pretty much, yes.
And right when we got here, we got a text message that the flight was canceled. So we stood in line for a really long time, and finally somebody came throughout the line, gave us a little card telling us that our flight was going to be rescheduled. I got a text saying that it was changed to tomorrow at 9 a.m.
The IT issue has wrought global havoc at airports, grounding flights in Europe and the United States in particular, while also derailing television broadcasts in the UK, impacting telecommunications in Australia, and affecting some banks and healthcare providers. Now, the issue was apparently caused by an update to an antivirus program, with Microsoft saying in a technical post on its website that the problems affected users of its Azure cloud platform running the cybersecurity software CrowdStrike Falcon.
Yeah, it just shows how dependent we are upon these big tech companies. Microsoft is really affecting our entire world right now. So it's not good.
The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, which had earlier announced the grounding of U.S. carriers over communication issues, said later it was closely monitoring a technical issue impacting IT systems at U.S. airlines. It said several U.S. airlines had requested its assistance with ground stops for their fleets until the issue is resolved. Some 1,300 U.S. flights were canceled and approximately 2,900 delayed as of Friday morning, according to tracking service FlightAware. At a security conference in Bristol, Professor Stephen Murdoch from University College London provided insights into the recent issues affecting Microsoft Cloud Services and CrowdStrike. Speaking to AFP, Professor Murdoch explained that the simultaneous problems are a coincidence and emphasized the extensive effort required to resolve them.
Yeah, so there's actually two problems that are happening at the same time. One is with Microsoft's cloud services, and then there's the problem with CrowdStrike. And as far as anyone can tell at the moment, it's just a coincidence that both of these are hitting at the same time, but it's probably the CrowdStrike problem that is causing the most damage. The problem with the CrowdStrike software is that when it stops working, the whole computer stops working, and the computer won't even turn on at this point. And not only does that mean you can't do any work, but it also means it's hard to fix the problem. It seems that someone is going to have to go around every single affected computer and then type some commands, put in a USB drive. But this is not something that can just be fixed with all the computers remotely over the internet. It's something that individual system administrators are going to have to fix one PC at a time, and so that's why it's going to take so long to fix the implications of this software. And so the companies that have invested in these cost-saving technologies are probably going to be the ones that are most badly affected, because these same automation technologies are not going to work anymore. So for some companies, yeah, maybe they can get it fixed in a few hours, but for other companies, it's going to be days, maybe weeks, before every single computer is properly back up and run. Every 5 minutes. They're all competing on being as quickly as possible when it comes to deploying new security technologies, but that means they don't have the same opportunity to test the software. And if they slow down, it would give better resilience, but it would also give more opportunity to the attackers. So there are some challenges that all the companies in this space face. So this combination of a very severe problem on the computer caused by CrowdStrike combined with other security technologies could in some cases result in data loss. And that will be another thing that is going to be causing stress for the system administrators that have to clean up the mess. And in this case, the failure is so severe that the computer can't connect to the internet. So it might as well be off for all intents and purposes. So certainly the organization is going to be distracted trying to clear up the mess, and that might cause them to pay less attention to other attacks. But the computers that are affected by this are in one sense safe, because they won't do anything no matter what you want them to do.
And tonight we delve into the shadowy world of scam farms, where innocent people are lured into a nightmare of exploitation and abuse. Will expose the criminal networks that profit from this misery and the desperate fight to rescue victims from their torment.
The Philippines has become a hotbed for these criminal enterprises, with an estimated 400 operating clandestinely, often hidden in plain sight. These operations thrive alongside legitimate online gaming businesses. The COVID-19 pandemic fueled the explosive growth of these scam farms, targeting victims worldwide. Authorities are fighting back. The Philippine Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission has shut down numerous operations and is collaborating with the UN Office on Drugs and Crime to dismantle these networks across the region.
What we're witnessing here is basically a prime example of a scam compound as they exist in many parts of the Philippines, but also in many other parts of Southeast Asia. When this compound here was raided, there were about 600-700 people arrested who were working in here. Now that's not a huge number compared to some other compounds that we know about, but it still tells you something about what's been going on here.
So smaller rooms. The biggest room would be that way, right? So this is a huge space. This is 3 times bigger than the ordinary size of a condominium unit here in Metro Manila. This used to be the prostitution den, sex trafficking den. So this room used to be the aquarium. And that room is where they used to have the sex services.
Aquarium.
Aquarium means you've got just like an aquarium, you've got fish, right? But instead of fish, you've got women to choose from.
They have the financial capability to corrupt anybody. They can corrupt just about anybody in public office, right? So the amount of money they have is their potent tool against law enforcement. But that doesn't mean that there are no law enforcers out there who are willing to operate against them. We need to address this problem as a region. We need to put our heads together, because Myanmar can do it alone, Thailand can do it alone, the Philippines for sure can't do it alone. We have to come to a table, we have to talk, because the problem is regional. So the solution has to be regional as well.
As you can see, there's still some dry blood all over the walls. And the handcuffs, these are all original to the building. So if you're unable to meet your quota at any given time, or if you had an infraction, a very serious infraction, they tie you here, then torture you, right? So Look at this one. According to some of our witnesses, someone was thrown towards this wall and broke this particular wall. Now, they also had this one, tasers. Right? They had tasers and they had fake guns. So if you're an ordinary worker, how would you be able to distinguish between a fake gun, an air gun, and a real gun?
They're being threatened both psychologically, but then also physically, and torture is a big part of that.
Of course, I'm so angry. I hate them. Why they do this to me? All I want is work and help to my family. That's it. I experienced also there that 3 months that I didn't meet the rich people. They asked me to pay. I pay also 5,000 Thai baht in 3 months. Then I don't have salary. 500 Thai baht, then next 500, then next week 1,000, then 2,000, then 2,000 Thai baht. I just pray and pray while they beat me. At the airport, here in the Philippines, I almost kissed the floor. I'm here, thank you, Lord. Yeah, because I didn't expect that I'm going home, really. Yeah. And while they beat me, they also are Chinese. They beat also, and then so many blood. Even the Chinese also, but they beat so hard also. They don't care a human being.
It's really organized criminal groups that are based in this region that are masterminding this, and they are the ones that essentially profit the most from them. They work with different actors. They might work with people who, control territory, whether in places like border areas in the Mekong, border areas of Myanmar, where different groups control territories and house these compounds, or they might work with local power structures. But in the end, these organized crime groups, and they might be based in different parts of Southeast Asia, China, other parts of the region. They're the ones that really stand to gain the most, and they're the ones making the big money with this business.
Scam centers are actually a convergence of crimes, and it starts from the fact that some local authorities, even national authorities, are involved in issuing permits to the scam centers, and then eventually it revolves in cyber crimes because a lot of these people are in fact recruited via the internet, via social media, and then it becomes a little bit more difficult because it becomes modern slavery because you have a human trafficking element to it. You have people working in slave-like conditions, and then eventually it becomes torture because if that person wants to leave the scam center, what they do is that they actually force people to pay them in ransom money, which they don't have.
We were told that they're just doing this because they want to have a job. But actually, it's a scamming activity wherein you victimize people, not necessarily Filipinos, but outside of our country. So that saddened me because it's like a victim victimizing another victim, and that's the saddest part of this activity.
The fight against these transnational crime syndicates is complex and challenging, but authorities are determined to dismantle these operations and rescue victims from their torment.
And also this week, a shocking report from Bangkok. A forensic examination has revealed that 6 foreign nationals, including 2 with American citizenship, were found dead in a luxury hotel, victims of cyanide poisoning. Veronica Carino reports.
A forensic examination has concluded that 6 foreign nationals found dead in a luxury Bangkok hotel died from cyanide poisoning, authorities said on Wednesday. The bodies of 6 Vietnamese nationals, including 2 with American citizenship, were discovered Tuesday in a suite at Grand Hyatt Erawan Hotel.
So we are aware of the reports of the deaths of 2 U.S. citizens in Bangkok, Thailand. We offer our sincere condolences to the families on their loss. We are closely monitoring the situation and stand ready to provide consular assistance to those families. Whenever a U.S. citizen dies in a foreign country, local authorities are responsible for determining the cause of death. We do reach out to local authorities often to communicate with them when it involves the death of a U.S. citizen, and we will certainly be doing so here. But I would defer to the local authorities for any further comment on what I believe is an ongoing investigation. So the call happened around 9 o'clock this morning. I think it might have been before we saw the reports of the death, so I don't know that it came up in the call, but I'll have to check and get back with you to confirm.
Initial reports of a shooting were quickly dismissed. Police believe that the victims ingested cyanide from teacups found at the scene. Autopsies reveal purple discoloration in mouths and nails, indicating a lack of oxygen.
ริมฝีปากเนี่ยเป็นสีม่วงเข้มนะครับใบหน้าต่างๆรวมถึงการตกสู่เบื้องต่ำของเลือดเนี่ยมีสีลักษณะพิเศษนะฮะรวมถึงปลายเล็บมือที่มีสีม่วงเข้มนะครับซึ่งเป็นการบ่งชี้อย่างหนึ่งนะครับเป็นสัญลักษณ์บ่งชี้อย่างหนึ่งที่สำคัญว่าอาจจะมีการเสียชีวิตที่มีเรื่องของการขาดอากาศเกิดขึ้นร่วมด้วยนะทุกรายเนี่ยสาเหตุการเสียชีวิตของทุกคนนะฮะเป็นการสันนิษฐานในเรื่องของการตรวจน่าจะเป็นสาเหตุการตายจากการที่เป็นพิษของสารไซยาไนด์นะครับซึ่งส่งผลในการขาดอากาศในระดับเซลล์
ในเบื้องต้นนี้เราพบนะครับที่ชานะครับที่ถ้วยชาที่เราเจอในห้องพักพบสารไซยาไนด์แก้วทั้ง6ใบเราพบสารไซยาไนด์ก็เชื่อว่า1 ใน 6นะครับต้องเป็นผู้กระทำในการก่อเหตุครับ
The grisly discovery has sparked murder investigation, with police suspecting one of the victims was the killer. The motive is believed to be a debt dispute involving millions of baht. The Vietnamese Foreign Ministry said 4 of the dead were Vietnamese, while the other 2 were U.S. citizens. The victims, 3 men and 3 women, aged between 37 and 56, were found surrounded by untouched food. Authorities believe they may have died a day before their bodies were discovered. The deaths have sent shockwaves through the Vietnamese community. Tran Dinh Dang, the father of one of the victims, described the family's anguish. "I kept calling him, but I couldn't get through," he said. Poo's mother has fainted countless of times. Thai authorities are working to contain the fallout from the high-profile case, which could damage the country's tourism image. Despite the incident, the government remains optimistic about the sector, aiming to surpass pre-pandemic visitor numbers. Reporting from Bangkok, Thailand, this is Veronica Carino for NET25 World News.
The United States has pledged to assist the Philippines in resupplying a grounded ship on a disputed atoll in the South China Sea. And this assurance comes from White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Speaking at the Aspen Security Forum, Sullivan emphasized the U.S. commitment under the Mutual Defense Treaty with the Philippines.
Just on the point of the Mutual Defense Treaty, we've made clear that it applies to public vessels in the South China Sea. And so China well understands our view of the application of the Mutual Defense Treaty should that line get crossed. That's an important point. We believe it is a stabilizing point and is one we have reinforced publicly and very much reinforced directly to the PRC, and the Philippines understands and appreciates that. Secondly, we have tried to consult very closely with the Philippines because these are decisions they should lead on. How to most effectively reprovision this ship so that the sailors on board have the food and water and other provisions they need to continue to fulfill their mission. And we will do what is necessary with the Philippines to see to it that that happens. But in terms of specific concepts of operations or the exact way in which the United States would be engaged, Our preference is to have the maintenance of the status quo there, the capacity of the Philippines to do these resupplies. We will continue to support the Philippines and stand behind them as they take steps to be able to ensure that. And I will be very cautious about speaking about hypotheticals should we have to get to it, because the most important thing right now is to see de-escalation and to see the ability of the Philippines to do resupplies. We believe that is achievable, and we are going to drive to make that happen.
Meanwhile, at the same forum, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken highlighted the significance of recent developments at the Second Thomas Shoal involving the Philippines. Blinken emphasized the global impact of potential crisis in the region, particularly concerning Taiwan.
This, too, is something, of course, that we're tracking all the time, not just the Taiwan Strait, South China Sea. We've seen Second Thomas Shoal with the Philippines as well come up again in the news. Look, I think this goes back to the point I was making about convergence a little earlier. One of the things that we've done is in sort of building bridges between Europe and Asia and thinking about the big challenges that we face, is raise the recognition far away from the Taiwan Strait that if there were to be a crisis over Taiwan, it would be a crisis that affects quite literally everyone in the world, not just the immediate neighbors. 50% of commercial cargo traffic goes through those straits every day. 70% of the semiconductors that the world relies on manufactured in Taiwan. So we've now seen over the last year and a half, a chorus of countries from far afield really impressing about China the imperative of not having a crisis, not stirring the pot, not disturbing the status quo, preserving peace and stability. The more you have that collective weight on China, I think the more they're likely to not lead us in that direction.
In a disturbing development, the highly infectious polio virus has resurfaced in Gaza, found lurking in sewage samples. Now, this discovery threatens to put thousands of Palestinians at risk of a disease that can cause lifelong paralysis. Gaza's Ministry of Health and the World Health Organization confirmed the presence of polio in sewage water after conducting thorough tests.
On 16 July, the Global Polio Laboratory Network isolated the variant poliovirus type 2 in 6 environmental surveillance samples collected on 23 June from Khan Yunis and Deir al-Balah. It's important to note that the virus has been isolated from the environment only at this time, and there's no associated paralytic case or any cases that have been detected.
According to the World Health Organization, wild polio was eradicated from Gaza over 25 years ago.
The coverage rates in Gaza were really optimal before the start of this ongoing war. Polio vaccination coverage is primarily conducted through routine immunization and was estimated at 89% in 2023, just according to the latest WHO UNICEF routine immunization estimates.
Polio virus can re-emerge when poor vaccination coverage allows the weakened form of the orally administered vaccine virus strain to mutate into a stronger version capable of causing paralysis, according to a spokesman from WHO's Global Polio Eradication Program.
The decimation of the health system, lack of security, access obstruction, constant population displacement, cramped living conditions, shortages of medical supplies, poor quality of water and weakened sanitation, as also just described by the colleagues, are decreasing routine immunization rates and increasing the risk of vaccine preventable diseases, including polio. This poses a risk for children and creates the perfect environment for diseases like polio to spread.
A bridge collapse caused by torrential rains in northern China killed 12 people and left more than 30 missing. Large parts of northern and central China have been battered in recent days by rains that have caused flooding and significant damage. The bridge in the northwestern Shanxi province buckled due to a sudden downpour and flash floods Friday night, according to state news agency Xinhua. All 12 victims in the city of Shanlu were found inside 5 vehicles that were recovered from the river below the bridge, according to Xinhua. At least 31 people remained missing, and initial investigations indicated that 17 cars and 8 trucks had fallen into the river. One witness told local media that he had approached the bridge, but that other drivers started yelling at me to brake and stop the car. A truck in front of me didn't stop and fell into the water, according to a witness surnamed Meng. Chinese President Xi Jinping has urged all-out rescue and relief efforts to find those still missing. In the southwestern province of Sichuan, more than 30 people were reported missing on Saturday after a violent thunderstorm caused flash flooding in the town of Ya'an, according to state broadcaster CCTV. On Friday, state media reported at least 5 people dead and 8 missing after the rain sparked flooding and mudslides in Shanxi's Baoji city. China is enduring a summer of extreme weather with heavy rains across the east and south, coming as much of the north has sweltered in successive heat waves. Climate change, which scientists say is exacerbated by greenhouse gas emissions, is making these types of extreme weather phenomena more frequent and more intense. A man is dead after a confrontation with police in Paris just days before the start of the Olympic Games. Authorities are now saying the man stabbed an officer with a knife near the Champs-Élysées. Police shot and killed the attacker. The officer was seriously hurt, but is expected to survive.
Sur les faits, le policier blessé est en urgence absolue, grièvement blessé. À ce stade, ces gens ne sont pas en danger. J'ai pu le voir avec le directeur de l'ordre public et de la circulation. D'abord, il m'a reconnu, il a reconnu le directeur, on a pu parler avec lui rapidement avant qu'il soit évacué.
Investigators say there's no indication of terrorism, but the incident adds to security concerns as Paris prepares to host the World, and tens of thousands of police and soldiers are being deployed for the Olympics.
Voilà, à ce stade, il n'y a pas de motivation terroriste. À ce stade, moi je reste toujours prudent. Nous sommes requis pour des faits, on va dire, de droit commun. Les effectifs de police viennent pour interpeller un individu, sont menacés par cet individu qui, de ce que l'on sait, n'est absolument pas connu. Des services de renseignement, j'entends. Voilà ce que je peux vous dire. C'est un individu qui a 27 ans et qui est, selon les documents d'identité qu'on a trouvés sur lui, qui est un étranger en situation régulière. Âgé de 27 ans. Voilà ce que je peux vous dire.
Bangladesh announcing the imposition of a curfew and the deployment of military forces after police failed to quell days of deadly unrest that has spread throughout the country.
On Thursday, police fired rubber bullets at hundreds of protesters who fought back and chased retreating officers to the headquarters of Bangladesh Television in the capital, Dhaka. Demonstrators set fire to the broadcaster's reception building and torched dozens of vehicles parked outside. A station executive says staff managed to safely evacuate the building. As night fell, outage monitor NetBlocks reported the internet has been almost totally shut down. It says the latest outage follows earlier efforts to throttle social media and restrict mobile data services, the key communication tools for protest organizers. Near daily marches this month have demanded an end to a quota system that reserves more than half of civil service posts for specific groups. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government is accused by rights groups of misusing state institutions to entrench its hold on power and stamp out dissent. They say that includes the extrajudicial killing of opposition activists. Her administration this week ordered schools and universities to close indefinitely as police step up efforts to bring the deteriorating law and order situation under control. Hasina appeared on television Wednesday night to condemn the what she called murder of protesters.
যারা মৃত্যুবরণ করেছে তাদের আত্মার মাগফিরাত কামনা করছি। পরিবারের সদস্যদের প্রতি গভীর সমবেদনা জানাচ্ছি। আমি প্রতিটি হত্যাকাণ্ডের নিন্দা জানাই। যে সকল ঘটনা ঘটেছে তা কখনোই কাম্য ছিল না। আমি দ্ব্যর্থহীনভাবে ঘোষণা করছি, যারা হত্যাকাণ্ড, লুটপাট ও সন্ত্রাসী কর্মকাণ্ড চালিয়েছে, এরা যেই হোক না কেন, তারা যেন উপযুক্ত শাস্তি পায় সে ব্যবস্থা নেওয়া হবে। আমি আরও ঘোষণা করছি, হত্যাকাণ্ড সহ যে সকল অনভিপ্রেত ঘটনা ঘটেছে, সুষ্ঠু ও ন্যায় বিচারের সাথে সে সকল বিষয় বিচার বিভাগীয় তদন্ত করা হবে।
But the violence worsened despite her appeal for calm, and police again attempted to break up demonstrations with rubber bullets and tear gas volleys. Percival Parlati for NET25 World News.
U.S. reporter Evan Gershkovich was sentenced by a Russian court to 16 years in prison for espionage, a verdict condemned as despicable, disgraceful, and a sham by Western governments and his employer. Gershkovich received a sentence after just 3 court sessions in a closed-door trial in Yekaterinburg, the city where he was arrested during a reporting trip in March 2023.
Yes, our Human Rights Office has said that the sentencing of Mr. Gershkovich by a Russian court earlier today raises serious concerns relating to his right to freedom of expression as a journalist. Journalists should be able to perform their central professional functions and work in a safe environment without fear of reprisals.
Judge Andrei Minayev stated that Gershkovich would be sent to a strict regime colony known for its harsh conditions and strict rules.
Руководствуясь статьями 307, 308, 309 Уголовно-процессуального кодекса Российской Федерации, суд приговорил Гершковича Ивана признать виновным в совершении преступления, предусмотренного статьей 276 Уголовного кодекса Российской Федерации, и назначенным наказание в виде лишения свободы на срок 16 лет с отбыванием в исправительной колонии строгого режима.
In court on Friday, Gershkovich showed no reaction to the sentence, standing in a glass defendant's cage, wearing dark trousers and a t-shirt. He waved to his journalist colleagues as he was led away. "We are pushing hard for Evan's release and will continue to do so," the White House said in a statement. Both Washington and Moscow have indicated that talks over a prisoner swap are ongoing. Russia has previously stated that it does not trade prisoners before conviction, suggesting that Friday's sentence might open the path for a potential swap deal. U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social site, "Biden will never get him out unless he pays a king's ransom. I will get him out for no compensation immediately following our victory on November 5th, and it will be my great honor to do so." Moscow and Washington have both expressed openness to a prisoner exchange, though no details have been provided about the timing. When asked about the possibility of a swap on Friday, the Kremlin declined to speculate. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov mentioned ongoing discussions between U.S. and Russian special services regarding potential exchanges without naming specific individuals. President Vladimir Putin has hinted at seeking the release of Vadim Krasikov, a Russian convicted in Germany of assassinating a Chechen separatist commander, an act German judges attributed to Russian authorities. Tensions remain high between U.S. and Russia, exacerbated by Moscow's military actions in Ukraine. And get ready to pandemonium. The San Diego Zoo has given us our first glimpse of its new panda pair, Yun Chuan and Shin Bao. The adorable duo is seen playing and exploring their new home, Panda Ridge, in a video released on Friday U.S. time. But the fun doesn't stop there. These pandas, who arrived from China in June and are the first to come to the United States in over 2 decades, will make their public debut on Thursday, August 8th. And how can you tell them apart? Yun Chuan, a nearly 5-year-old male, has a long pointy nose, while Shin Bao, a female just shy of 4, has a big round face and fluffy ears. And that's it for tonight's Net25 World News. I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for watching. We'll see you back on Monday. Good night.